has not made money in terms of this thing about, what are you talking about? China. I have not had the only guy who made money from China is this guy. He's the only one. Look, there are 50 former national intelligence folks who said that what he's accusing me of is a Russian plant. They have said that this has all the 5 former heads of the CIA, both parties, say what he's saying is a bunch of garbage. Nobody believes it except his and his good friend Rudy Giuliani.
So hey guys, how's everyone doing? I thought I'll do a quick video while I'm stuck in hospital. I've got a conspiracy video coming up about Paul McCartney, which is super interesting, and I think many of you will enjoy this one because there's a lot to it. But the first video I'm going to do, there's a couple of things I want to cover that I've kind of I don't know. Annoyed me. The first of all is the amount of lies that Joe Biden seems to tell. So as you've seen in the first clip that I showed at the beginning of this video, he claims that he has never made money from China, bloody liar, and the only person to do so has been Trump, which is not true at all. He then got 52 members of a CIA community to sign a letter to state that the Hunter Biden laptop from hell was disinformation. So I'm going to throw up some newspaper articles that show that Joe's talking out of his squeaky old ass. So here we have an ex-CIA director reveal that he had 50 spies sign a letter saying that the Hunter laptop story was Russian disinformation to help Joe win the election, basically. And you can read this bit, but the part I want to focus on is this. Recently, the CIA director, as well as others, recently testified before the House Judiciary Committee and said that he coordinated the letter because he wanted to help Joe Biden win the presidency. So they covered it up, and the public have came out and said that if they knew that this laptop story was real, Trump would have had a 17% lead on Biden, therefore totally blowing him out the water and winning the presidency. So it was covered up. But then you get old Joe, ice cream licking, hair sniffing Biden, pulling connections to hide his corruption. He's one of the most corrupt, shadiest politicians in the world. Think about it. This man's a millionaire. You don't become a millionaire serving as a senator or on Congress, for example. You're paid a government wage, and that doesn't amass the amount of money that the Bidens made. So I've also took clips from the Johnston show. If any of you go and get a chance, please go and watch this show. This guy is absolutely brilliant. His investigative skills are next level. Please go over and subscribe to his channel.
Is real. Now what's fascinating is the GOP has the bank records. Let's show them. Where are they? The bank records that show the Chinese are funding the Bidens. And Joe Biden's asked point blank about that at the White House by a foreign reporter, of course. Don't let never allow the narrative or your agenda to get in the way of truth telling, you goblins. So Joe Biden's asked directly about this at the White House, and he goes, "No, I never had any dealings with the Chinese." Check this out. This article from Fox News. Oh, here's the article. Here's the actual bank records. There they are. There you go. Here's your bank records from China. Millions. Interesting. Biden denies $1 million in payment for China. Scroll down. Biden denies this. Okay, well, here's the bank records. And more importantly, and this is hysterical, more importantly, check out this article. This is a quote from Hunter Biden's lawyer. This is a quote from Hunter Biden's lawyer saying, yeah, of course we got money from the Chinese. Huh? Dude, you should have gotten on the same page at least with your corrupt, cokehead kid, sex trafficking, whore banging, crack addict, son. You should at least, could you at least coordinate with him on these messages? Joe Biden says, no, I never got money from the Chinese. Hunter Biden's lawyer, reading to you directly from their quote, Hunter Biden has every right to pursue his own business endeavors. He joined several business partnerships in seeking a joint venture with a privately owned, legitimate energy company in China. By the way, if you're having to explain that the business you're doing is legitimate, you're losing. You're losing. So there are some verifiable lies that you have the Bidens caught up in, okay? There's just some open, verifiable lies before we even get to the breaking news today. And this is, I think, particularly important to sort of set all of the...
So as you can see from this, all the payments were coming from a shell company called Robson Walker LLC, and it was all payments to like Biden corporations, Biden family members, and this Robson Corporation LLC was a shell company formed by the Chinese Communist Party. And if you tally it all up, you know, it's like over $1 million that this family received. Why would the Chinese Communist Party be paying the bloody Bidens? Well, we know why. For access, because at the time when Joe was a senator, he had access to classified documents that he squirreled away everywhere. Even in Chinatown, funnily enough, when he was vice president, and he did not have the authority to take home classified documents. Oh well, he did. He had them squirreled away. I think there's something like over now 280 boxes of classified material. Some that he's handed over in places that he just like placed in his garage, you know, for anyone to find. Trump keeps his in a locked room, like he was told by the Secret Service, and he also has Secret Service protection on his home at Mar-a-Lago. His house gets raided, while a senator who has absolutely no bloody right whatsoever to be taking anything classified, or even as vice president to be taking anything classified. Only the president can take declassified documents, and especially ones that are not even unclassified. Only the president can have access to them. So yeah, what Joe's done is illegal. It's criminal, and it's if anything, it's an impeachable offence. But let Benny carry on with more of his evidence.
People are not geniuses. The scheme is, my dad has a lot of power in the United States government to shape policy. You will pay me, and I will give you the policy you want. China, Russia, Ukraine, Tajikistan, United Arab Emirates. That's the scheme. And now we know, and this is hysterical, this is how we know that they're the dumbest people. Now we know that the Bidens were caught up inside of an FBI clandestine operation, meaning an operation outside of the American soil, for money laundering, and that the FBI ensnared Joe Biden in a money laundering scam. It's too good. It's too good. So Joe Biden was so dumb and was so stupid that he got ensnared in a money laundering, effectively a pay-for-play scandal, where he would deliver policy if somebody paid him enough money. Now, how do we know this? Well, because the FBI has documentation somewhere deep inside of the bowels of the FBI, inside of a building that should be wrecked and scattered 1,000 pieces to the winds. There is a document that details, that probably hundreds of people have seen, that details Joe Biden's crime. It's impossible to delete this document. They won't be able to get rid of this. This is the one that sticks, okay? They have a specific document The document looks like this one, okay? This is called a FD 1023. The FD 1023 is a classified human source, confidential human source document. That's somebody who's abroad working with the FBI in order to out crimes that implicate Americans. And that human source is saying Joe Biden is the one involved in the money laundering pay-for-play scandal. That document details it. You will never be able to get rid of this document. You won't be able to hide it, cover it up, or destroy it. It's been seen and logged by too many people. This came when Joe Biden was vice president, when he was doing these deals. And we think we actually literally have the audio of this. And we'll play it for you in just a moment. First, the breaking news of this scandal and where it all comes from. The great James Comer and Chuck Grassley. Go.
The House Oversight Committee Chairman James Comer says that he's issued a subpoena to the FBI in a letter that he and Senator Chuck Grassley have sent to Attorney General Merrick Garland and FBI Director Chris Wray. They write that a, quote, highly credible whistleblower says the Justice Department and FBI have a form that, quote, describes an alleged criminal scheme involving then-President Biden and a former national relating to the exchange of money for policy decisions. It's been alleged that the document includes a precise description of how the alleged criminal scheme was employed, as well as its purpose.
What was its purpose? It's pretty obvious. The purpose was to get the Biden's rich. The purpose was to use you, honest, hardworking, tax-paying American watching this program, to use the faith and credit that is established by our great economy, something that Joe Biden has never contributed to and did not help build, a nation built by better people than Joe Biden and his criminal family, obviously. They are strip mining the good faith and credit of the American people, the value of our dollar, the value of our hard work, the value of our families and our churches and our communities. They are strip mining that for their own consolidated power in order to leverage it to get paid. They're criminals. These are the kind of people that show up on a block and say, we're in charge now. And for protection, you will pay us. That's what these people are. This is a racketeering charge. The White House responded to these allegations thusly.
The White House responding just a moment ago saying, for going on 5 years now, Republicans in Congress have been lobbying unfounded, unproven, politically motivated attacks against the president and his family without offering evidence for their claims or evidence of decisions influenced by anything other than U.S. interests. That's because they prefer floating anonymous innuendo amplified by the megaphone of their allies and right-wing media to get attention and try to distract and deflect from their own unpopular ideas and lack of solutions to the issues the American people actually care about. When it comes to President Biden's personal finances, anybody can take a look. He's offered an unprecedented level of transparency, releasing a total of 25 years of tax returns to the American public. So
people aren't very convinced by this line of propaganda, total and complete, unmitigated bullshit from the White House. They're not convinced, and it's not going to fly because the people who have these documents, who know these whistleblowers, who understand where this all comes from, this comes from the rank and file FBI agents who are good. We oftentimes group them all together because they're very bad apples that float up to the top because it's a corrupt system. Corrupt systems promote their own. But there are good people, good law enforcement people, of course. I'm pro-law enforcement. They're good people. The FBI does solve actual crimes, sometimes horrific ones that I'm glad that they do. Those good people are saying, wait a second, we have a president who is a criminal, and they cannot stand by any longer. One of the trademarks, actually, of a good person, when they see crimes or wrongs being committed, they have to scream them from the rooftops. One of the chief investigators with Chuck Grassley in the Senate, Ron Johnston, had this response.
Joe Biden, the White House, is denying this. And, of course, Joe Biden's never not lied to the American public before, has he? Now, I wouldn't believe a word either the White House or Joe Biden is saying about this. This is a serious allegation. And a whistleblower came forward to the champion of whistleblowers, Senator Grassley. He talked to Chairman Comer to subpoena these records. They've also written a letter to Attorney General Garland and FBI Director Christopher Wray to turn over this FBI file. What this is the report that the FBI agent files when a confidential human source gives them a report of alleged misconduct. My questioning is this scheme, does this tie into other influence peddling, the things that Hunter Biden, James Biden, other members of the Biden family are involved in? But again, what this scheme is about, apparently, allegedly, is the vice president basically engaging in a scheme to profit off of policy changes. I mean, this is an unbelievably serious allegation, and I hope that Merrick Garland and Christopher Wray immediately turn over that FBI form, and we can get to the bottom of this.
Ron Johnston is a spectacular investigator. Ron Johnston is somebody who was reelected this last cycle overwhelmingly by the people of Wisconsin, and his job now is to be a bulldog for truth, along with his sidekick, Chuck Grassley, also from the Midwest. Midwest, stay strong, represent, shout yourself out if you're watching from the Midwest in the comment section. Chuck Grassley, remaining strong, the king of oversight, somebody who's worked with FBI whistleblowers and federal government whistleblowers his entire career, which has been very long in the Senate, nigh on 40 years. And Chuck Grassley out and out saying he's never seen anything like this. Never seen any type of corruption like this. Chuck Grassley is thorough. Chuck Grassley is detailed. Chuck Grassley is an old bull. You don't move old bulls with lies. They only move when they want to. Chuck Grassley, the old bull of the Senate, saying this is the real deal. Joe Biden's a criminal.
Really need to know what steps did the Justice Department and FBI take to investigate and to vet the document to determine if it's accurate or not, and did the Justice Department and the FBI follow normal investigative procedures, or did they let political calculations interfere? And I've documented several times where political interference has kept I guess leave it this way. I've had plenty of evidence of political decision-making and who should be investigated or not be investigated. But if the Justice Department and the FBI have any hopes of redeeming their once trusted position with the American people, Garland and Wray must answer this subpoena.
So here's something that you possibly didn't notice. Way back in the beginning of the year, the first hearing of the year, Chuck Grassley brought in Merrick Garland and said, hey, I have a bunch of whistleblowers coming to me talking to me about criminal activity inside of the Biden family. Have you done anything with that? Like, what exactly are you doing here? And you need to answer under oath because, well, this is under penalty of perjury. So you better give me the correct answer because I actually have the details. This was a master stroke by Chuck Grassley. This clip we've played you a couple times, and we've told you, pay attention to this one because this is important. Because Chuck Grassley is not showing his whole hand. He's not even showing a two of spades here. Chuck Grassley knew that this document existed at the time that he asked this question in order to lock in a response, in order to perjure the people who are in charge of justice inside of the Biden regime. It's a master play. Watch.
Other whistleblower disclosures to my office make clear that the FBI has within its possession very significant, impactful, and voluminous evidence with respect to potential criminal conduct by Hunter and James Biden. These disclosures also allege that Joe Biden was aware of Hunter Biden's business arrangements and may have been involved in some of them. We still aren't sure what's been done with this information. The FBI's track record doesn't create much faith that the information is going to be followed up on. It's clear to me that the Justice Department and the FBI are suffering from a political infection that, if it's not defeated, will cause the American people no longer to trust these storied institutions. It will also threaten the American way of life. Unfortunately, what you've heard from me This story of government abuse and political treachery is scarier than fiction. It really happened.
So this runs even deeper, and I'm going to show you even more evidence of Biden and his corruption. But first, I want to play a little compilation of Biden and his many lies.
Now, we know many politicians have a strange relationship with the truth. They lie, embellish and evade, but there are not too many politicians, or even just regular human beings for that matter, who deliberately and repeatedly tell the sort of bold-faced lies that can be immediately debunked. But that's what Joe Biden has done throughout his political career. For 50 years, he has repeated verifiable lies over and over again. And yet, he has been elevated to the most powerful office in the world. We've brought you examples of his habitual lying as president. But let's take a stroll down memory lane and look at Joe Biden's extravagant plagiarising and lying. And you may be shocked to know his dodgy ways were evident even in college.
Joseph Biden admitted today that he committed plagiarism when he was in law school. He said it was a mistake, but that it was unintentional.
He quoted 5 pages of someone else's work without proper citation.
I've done some dumb things, and I'll do dumb things again.
He was given an F.
So, ladies and gentlemen, I've been dumb.
To the political community in Washington, it all seems of a piece. Plagiarism at law school, plagiarism on the stump.
The great communicator. Strike that. The great imitator.
You don't steal verbatim, or when you do, as he did 99% of the time, you give credit.
Biden's critics say he sells himself as a man whose words and visions can inspire a new generation in politics. But if the thoughts, phrases, and visions really belong to others, it's a form of false advertising.
Senator Joseph Biden may have more explaining to do.
The new questions stem from taped remarks of Biden during an April campaign appearance in New Hampshire.
I went to law school on a full academic scholarship, the only one in my class to have a full academic scholarship. Went back to law school and, in fact, ended up in the top half of my class. I was the outstanding student in the political science department at the end of my year. I graduated with 3 degrees from undergraduate school and 165 credits, only needed 123 credits.
Biden now concedes he did not graduate in the top half of his law school class, that he does not have 3 degrees from college, and that he was not named outstanding political science student in college.
Newsweek says Biden actually went to school on a half scholarship, ended up near the bottom of his class, and won only 1 degree, not 3.
Joe Biden ranked 76th in a class of 85 at the University of Syracuse Law School. I mean, this guy comes off this whole thing as a flyweight.
Now Biden says Newsweek is right. His memory had failed.
He claimed his memory failed him. Don't you hate it when that happens, when you think you graduated top of your class with 3 degrees, but you were actually one of the worst students in the class and only had 1 degree? Yeah, it's bad. Now, isn't it refreshing when you watch that to see news media do their job, call out the lying politician rather than provide cover for him? Let's have a look at an example of just how blatant Biden was in plagiarising someone else's life and stories to present as his own.
He used phrases identical to those delivered by British Labour Party leader Neil Kinnock.
Biden seemed to be claiming Kinnock's vision and life as his own.
Why is it that my wife, who's sitting out there in the audience, is the first in her family to ever go to college?
Why is Gladys the first woman in her family, in 1,000 generations, to be able to get to university?
My ancestors who worked in the coal mines in northeast Pennsylvania don't come up after 12 hours and play football.
8 hours underground, and then come up and play football.
It's because they didn't have a platform upon which to stand.
There was no...
Just incredible stuff. And thanks to RNC Research for unearthing those old clips. Who would think that a pathological liar, not a good one, but one who lies about easily verifiable facts over and over again, would rise to be the leader of the free world? 81 million votes. Every word Donald Trump ever uttered has been fact-checked by activist reporters, but Biden managed to go through an entire presidential campaign without having to answer for his litany of lies. And even in office, the bulk of the media has ignored his habit of lying about verifiable facts, figures and events.
And he's lied about, what was it? He was like third in his class, that he has all these degrees, when he actually finished like 76 in his class out of 84. Yeah, Biden's an idiot. But we already knew that. And the best of it, at this point in time, the old crony didn't even have dementia. But it even gets worse. It gets worse. Wait till you hear the many more lies. There was one where he even claimed he got arrested, that he flew to South Africa to try and free Nelson Mandela and got arrested. And it was all a bunch of lies. He then also claimed that he went around the mountains with Xi Jinping. Again, lies. I don't know, and then he just plagiarizes people's speeches. So let me show you more.
Disastrous one-on-one interview Biden did. We've seen snippets of that on this station, so we're not going to replay those. Don't worry about that. But what we saw was just the tip of the iceberg. Let's take a look at 6 verifiable lies told by Biden in that interview, as detailed very, very helpfully by the Daily Mail. Lie 1. Biden said there was no way to leave Afghanistan without chaos ensuing, but only 6 weeks earlier, he said the Taliban takeover was highly unlikely. Remember that big speech he gave? Nonsense. Lie 2. Biden said the Afghan army is 300,000 strong. Close, Joe. It's only 178,000. Biden said the US doesn't have a military presence in Syria. In fact, it does. It's still got 900 troops there again. Who's advising him? Lie 4. Biden said he can't recall military officials suggesting he keep the stable 2,500 troop presence in Afghanistan, though reports show Joint Chiefs of Staff Chairman Mark Milley made exactly such a request. Lie 5. Biden said US has control of Kabul airport, though Taliban fighters, and I think we've got some footage of it here, have formed a wall around the airport and are controlling who goes in and out. Maybe we don't have footage, but trust me, the footage is not pretty. 6. Biden said no one is being killed in Kabul at Kabul airport, though the Taliban has killed at least 12. And that's just 6. I'm going to go through that interview myself, and I'm confident of finding at least half a dozen other lies, Nicholas. The man has got no...
And that last denial of his angered me the most, that no military personnel was killed in Afghanistan, especially when, 12 people were killed in Afghanistan, 12 soldiers were murdered by a suicide bomber, and not to mention the multitude of other soldiers who went through horrific injuries, losing arms, legs, things like that, and that sick POS, I'm not going to swear in this, but it makes me so angry, as those soldiers were being brought home, these young heroes, that old POS is standing there looking at his watch. I'm going to show you the clip here.
About Sergeant Nicole G., who was one of the 2 female Marines who were killed among the 13. She was the one who posted that Instagram post holding the baby, saying, "I love my job," just a few days ago. You talked about Sergeant Nicole G., who was one of the 2 female Marines who were killed among the 13. She was the one who posted that Instagram post holding the baby, saying, "I love my job," just a few days ago.
In reference to the checking of his watch, that didn't happen just once. That happened on every single one that came out of that airplane. It happened on every single one of them. They would release the salute, and he looked down at his watch on every last one, all 13. He looked down at his watch. And as a father, you know,
poor kids are just as bright and just
seeing
as
that and the
talented as white
disrespect
kids.
and hearing from his former leaders, one of his master sergeants said exactly what you just said, that this was avoidable, that they left them over there, they had them over there and let them down.
But reason why
and
we're
that,
here is because
we can't have that. It can't happen ever again.
Extreme amount.
Mark, you want to comment on the watch incident? Did you notice the same thing?
Yes, I did. I actually leaned into my son's mother's ear and I said, I swear to God, if he checks his watch one more time, and that was only probably 4 times in.
Not a racist
I
bone in my
couldn't
body.
look at him anymore after
My
that.
whole
Just
career.
considering especially the time and why we were there, it was, I found to be the most
Unless you have a slight Indian accent. I'm not joking.
What? You can't go to a 7-Eleven unless you have a slight Indian accent? What? So as soon as you walk in there, you gotta get into your 7-Eleven voice. That's from, everybody knows how to do their 7-Eleven voice from The Simpsons, I guess. That's ridiculous, man.
The world is different. There's too much unfinished business for us to just look backwards. We have to look to the future.
I know Joe. We know Joe. But most importantly, Joe knows us.
That's right.
And by the way, you know, I sit on the stand and it get hot. I got hairy legs that turn blonde in the sun. And the kids used to come up and reach in the pool and rub my leg down so it was straight, and then watch the hair come back up again. They'd look at it. So I learned about roaches. I learned about kids jumping on my lap. And I've loved kids jumping on my lap.
Did this dude say I learned about roaches? Yo, did he say I learned about roaches? What, from hanging with black children, from hanging with black families, you learned about roaches, bruh? Come on, man. Nope, calm down, Van. Put a smile on your face, be the happy Van. They like to see the happy Van. They don't want to see an angry Van. No.
Even call centers, which rushed overseas in the hundreds of thousands. How many times you get the call? I'd like to talk to you about your credit card.
Poor kids are just...
Oh my gosh. I'd like to talk to you. Come on, bro.
How many times you get the call? I'd like to talk to you about your credit card.
Poor kids are just as bright and just as talented as white kids. Poor kids are just as bright and just as talented as white kids.
About your credit card.
Poor kids are just as bright and just as talented as white kids.
Yo, poor kids are just as bright and just as talented as white kids. I heard it for myself. I told y'all I wasn't going to wait for y'all to go find it for me because I like to ask y'all all the time. Please let me know in the comments where I can find this. Well, I went looking for this right after I watched that video. Poor kids are just as bright and just as talented as white kids. Wow, bruh. Joe Biden just So what you trying to say? Because you excluded all white kids from that poor. Poor kids are just as bright and just as talented as them good old white kids. Come on, bruh. That was not very smart. That was not very smart. And he wasn't even young when he said that. He wasn't young when he said that.
How many times you get the
Oh
call?
my God.
I'd like to talk to you about your
Come on,
credit
man.
card.
That's ridiculous.
Poor kids are just as bright and just as talented as white kids.
They're going to put you all back in chains.
You needed my opinion?
What? I was about to call him the N-word. Van, you are doing better now. You got counseling. You're back reading your Bible. You're focusing on the positive, getting rid of the negative. It flows away like the wind. More positive. This dude, man, I swear to goodness, he said gonna have y'all back in chains. Oh my God.
It's white kids. They're going to put you all back in chains.
In my opinion, we don't need white people leading the Democratic Party right now. The Democratic Party is diverse, and it should be reflected as so in our leadership.
But I tell you, if you have a problem figuring out whether you're for me or Trump, and you ain't black.
Why does this happen?
I'm not going to do this.
If you having a problem trying to figure out, first of all, man, who gave that man an edible before he went to the Breakfast Club? Because he was all over the place. And I apologize for making. Listen. It just sounded like he was on an edible. Or he had an edible or something before he went and did that. Okay, I'm gonna stop stopping this so much, man, because I'm gonna be fussing this whole daggone. Whew.
What I'm not going to do this because Chuck, I'm not going to do this because let me just be really clear. Vice President Biden absolutely has a respect level for all people around him, for voters across this country, young people, older voters, voters of color, black people, Latino voters, indigenous, Asian American, Pacific Islander. So I'm not going to even traffic in any hypothetical conversation about if he is sensitive enough.
Listen, Simone, and you smart as hell. I even think my wife like you because you're a strong black woman, extremely intelligent. We know your name. When we know your name, you are huge. The world knows your name. Now you have a responsibility to see the stuff that I've seen. I'm talking about pull the cloak off your eyes, man. I'm looking at a video right now that says that the guy that you are talking about, he's this, that, and the third, and he's amazing, all this other stuff. That's not what I'm seeing, sis. At all. That's not what I'm seeing.
Traffic in any hypothetical conversation
Come on, man.
About if
crazy.
he is sensitive enough. In my opinion, we don't need white people leading the Democratic Party right now.
But I tell you, if you have a problem figuring out whether you're for me or Trump, and you ain't black.
I think Joe Biden might be suffering from that same white entitlement and privilege and ego, where he's just that old school white male who feels like, hey, man, they need me, I don't need them, or I got them already.
Joe Biden is... Or I got them already. Yes. Or I got them already. Yes. They don't need me. I mean, I don't need them. They need me. Nah, that part, if he think that, he's wrong. But that other part, or I got them already. Why should I care? I can say whatever I want to say.
Is under fire this evening on comments he made about working alongside segregationist senators in the past.
Biden recalling his early Senate career, bringing up two segregationist senators, Herman Talmadge and James Eastland, who called African Americans an inferior race. I was in a caucus with James O. Eastland, Biden said. He never called me boy. He always called me son. At least there was some civility. We got things done. We didn't agree on much of anything. We got things done.
I think the two-party system, although my Democratic colleagues don't like me saying this, I think the two-party system is good for the South and good for the Negro, good for the black in the South. Other than the fact that they still call me boy, I think they've changed their mind a little bit.
I think the two-party system is good for the South. Although my Democratic colleagues won't like me saying this, I think the two-party system is good for the South. Is he talking about segregation?
Yes, in that last clip there, of the person speaking, yeah, that's Joe Biden. That's Joe Biden there's so much more things that he said is utterly racist, that he didn't want his kids to go to school in a racial jungle, that he said Barack Obama was the first clean black politician and president that he'd ever met, as in to say that black people aren't clean. Like, are you for real? You Biden, I'm going to swear now, you piece of shit. Like, are you for real? But this doesn't, so this is just showing just a smidge of that POS's racism. And the fact that he read the eulogy at the head of the Ku Klux Klan's funeral, he read the eulogy for Robert Byrd at his funeral, a guy who was a member of the Ku Klux Klan. So that should tell you everything you need to know, that Biden is a raging racist, and everything that he does, he tries to project on Trump. He's a criminal. laundering money through Ukraine, Russia, China. What does he do? He projects it onto Trump. Everything he does, he projects onto Trump. And I've got more evidence that will prove this. But this video's getting rather long, so I'm going to do a part 2. But just know, yeah, for all you that voted for Biden, yeah, you voted for a criminal. You voted for a guy who sold out his own country. So I'm just going to leave it there. I've got more evidence on Biden's criminality, and trust me, there's a lot of it. So much more evidence. But as I said, this is getting super long. So I'll see you in part 2, guys. Remember, hit that like, and yeah, I know, like, yeah, can you please hit the subscribe button? It does help me. I see a ton of people have unsubscribed. Yeah, I understand why. I'm obviously, like, I don't know, I was led to believe, like, people hated me and stuff like that, but at least I've still got, like, 3,000 of you hanging around, I guess. So if you could please hit that subscribe button, and part 2 will be up tomorrow, and then it'll be my Beatles video. I truly do love you guys, and I'll speak to you soon. Bye.